I caught my girlfriend in bed with my own brother, and your family took his side. What would you do if you caught your girlfriend in bed with your own brother, and your family took his side? This is the story of how I lost everything, rebuilt myself from nothing, and took the sweetest revenge you've ever heard. Buckle up, because this one is personal. Let's dive in. Growing up, I was always the other son. My older brother Derek was the golden child. He was tall, charming, athletic, basically everything my parents wanted in a son. He got into a top university, landed a cushy job at our dad's real estate firm, and was being groomed to take over the family business. Me? I was the backup plan. I wasn't dumb. I had a degree in computer science and was working as a freelance software developer. But to my family, that meant I was still figuring things out. My mom would introduce Derek as my successful son, and me as my other son who works with computers. It stung, but I told myself it didn't matter. I had something Derek didn't. Emma. Emma was my girlfriend of 4 years. We met in college, and she was everything to me. She was smart, funny, gorgeous, and she made me feel like I mattered. She'd tell me that one day I'd build something amazing, that I didn't need my family's approval to be successful. I believed her. I was even planning to propose. About 6 months before everything fell apart, I started noticing small changes. Emma was distant. She'd check her phone constantly and smile at messages she wouldn't let me see. When I asked her about it, she'd say it was just work stuff or group chats with the girls. I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous, paranoid boyfriend, so I let it go. Then Derek started coming around more often. He'd coincidentally show up at our apartment to drop off something from our parents, or he'd invite himself to dinners Emma and I had planned. At first, I thought he was just being annoying, but then I noticed the way Emma looked at him. She laughed a little too hard at his jokes. She touched his arm when she talked to him, and he'd look at her like he wanted her. One night, I confronted her. "Emma, is something going on between you and Derek?" She looked at me like I'd just accused her of murder. "Are you serious right now? He's your brother. Why would you even think that?" I felt like an idiot. I apologized. I even bought her flowers the next day. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. 2 months later, my world exploded. I came home early from a client meeting because it got canceled. I was planning to surprise Emma, maybe take her out to dinner, reconnect a little. When I opened the door to our apartment, I heard voices coming from the bedroom, laughing, giggling, and then sounds I'll never forget. I stood there frozen, my brain refusing to process what I was hearing. Then I pushed the door open. There they were, Emma and Derek, in our bed. The look on Emma's face wasn't guilt. It was annoyance, like I'd interrupted something inconvenient. Derek didn't even bother covering up. He just smirked and said, "Oh, hey man." I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I just stood there like an idiot while my entire life collapsed around me. Finally, I managed to say, "How long?" Emma pulled the blanket around herself and sighed, like I was the one being dramatic. "About 8 months," she said. "Look, I didn't want you to find out like this, but Derek and I are in love. We're moving in together next week." 8 months. I looked at Derek, my own brother, the guy I'd grown up with, defended, looked up to. "Why?" I asked. He shrugged. "Because I can. And honestly, bro, she was getting bored with you anyway. You're not exactly going anywhere." That's when something inside me died. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked out. The next few weeks were the darkest of my life. I moved into a cheap studio apartment that smelled like mildew and regret. I couldn't afford anything better because Emma had been splitting rent with me, and now I was barely scraping by. I told my parents what happened, hoping for support, sympathy, something. Instead, my mom said, "Well, maybe this is a sign you need to get your life together. Derek is settled. He has a career. Emma probably just wanted stability." My dad nodded. You can't blame her for wanting more. They didn't even acknowledge that Derek had slept with my girlfriend. I realized then that I was truly alone. I spent nights staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every sign I'd missed. I felt worthless, like maybe they were all right. Maybe I wasn't good enough. But then, one night, something shifted. I was scrolling through social media and saw a photo Derek posted. It was him and Emma at some fancy restaurant, captioned, "Upgrade complete." The comments were full of people congratulating them. No one cared that he'd stolen his brother's girlfriend. No one cared that I existed. And that's when the anger kicked in. I wasn't going to beg for their approval anymore. I was going to make them regret everything. I threw myself into work like a man possessed. I stopped going out, stopped dating, stopped caring about anything except building something that would prove them all wrong. I had an idea for an app, a project management tool for freelancers and small businesses. I'd been tinkering with it for months, but now I gave it everything I had. I worked 16-hour days. I taught myself marketing, design, user experience. I lived off ramen and coffee. I didn't sleep. 6 months later, I launched the beta version. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And people liked it. Within 3 months, I had 10,000 users. Within 6 months, I had investors reaching out. Within a year, I had a company. I called it Forge, because I was building myself from the ashes. Fast forward 2 years. Forge was valued at $50 million. We had over 200,000 active users and a team of 30 employees. I'd been featured in Forbes, TechCrunch, and Entrepreneur magazine. I was getting interview requests, speaking gigs, partnership offers. I moved into a penthouse downtown. I drove a car I used to only dream about. I had people who respected me, who saw me as someone who mattered. And the whole time, I kept tabs on Derek and Emma. Derek was still working at Dad's firm, doing okay, but nothing special. Emma had quit her job to be a full-time influencer, but she only had a few thousand followers and no real income. They were fine, comfortable, mediocre. And I was thriving. But I wasn't satisfied yet. I wanted them to feel what they did to me. Here's where it gets good. My dad's real estate company was struggling. The market had shifted, and he didn't know how to adapt. He was hemorrhaging money and too proud to ask for help. One day, I got a call from my mom. "Sweetheart, I know things have been difficult between us, but your father needs help. We're in trouble financially. Derek suggested maybe you could invest? You've done so well." I almost laughed. "Put Dad on the phone," I said. When he got on, I could hear the desperation in his voice. "Son, I know I wasn't always fair to you, but family helps family. If you could just loan us—" "I'm not loaning you anything," I said. "But I'll buy the company." Silence. "I'll pay fair market value. You keep a small percentage of equity, but I take over operations. Deal?" He hesitated, but he didn't have a choice. "Deal." I bought my father's company, and the first thing I did? I fired Derek, not because he was bad at his job, but because I could. Emma called me, crying, begging me to reconsider. "Please, he's struggling. We're struggling. I'm sorry for what I did, okay? I'm sorry. Just please." I let her finish. Then I said, "You told me Derek was an upgrade, so upgrade your way out of this." And I hung up. It's been 3 years since all of that went down. Derek works at a mid-level firm now, barely making ends meet. Emma left him about a year after I fired him. Turns out she really was just in it for the money. My parents and I have a complicated relationship. They respect me now, but it's not the same. I don't need their approval anymore. I'm still running Forge. We're valued at over $120 million now, and I'm working on launching 2 new products next quarter. I've dated here and there, but I'm cautious. Trust doesn't come easy after what I went through. But I learned something important. The best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's becoming so successful that they destroy themselves trying to keep up. Derek didn't lose because I fired him. He lost because he never built anything on his own. And me? I built an empire. So that's my story. If you've ever been betrayed, left behind, or told you weren't good enough, just know that your comeback can be bigger than their betrayal. Don't get bitter. Get better. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever gotten the ultimate revenge?